Krishna, Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om
Since the
Namo
Lord is a proprietor
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, we are reading from 14.38. One second. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om. Okay. Canto 1, Chapter 14, Text 38. The great heroes of the Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of Lord Sri Krishna, always remain fearless in every respect, and therefore their feet trample over the Sudharma assembly house, which which the best demigods deserved, but which was taken away from them. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Those who are directly servitors of the Lord are protected by the Lord from all fearfulness, and they also enjoy the best of things, even if they are forcibly accumulated. The Lord is equal in behavior of all living beings, but He is partial to His pure devotees, being very affectionate towards them. The city of Dwarka was flourishing, being enriched with the best of things in the world. The state assembly house is constructed according to the dignity of the particular state. In the heavenly planets, the state assembly house is called Sudharma, was deserving of dignity of the best of the demigods. Such an assembly house is never meant for any state of globe, because the human being on earth unable to construct it. However, for particular state may be materially advanced, but during the time of Lord Sri Krishna's presence on earth, the members of Yadu dynasty forcibly brought the celestial assembly home to earth, placed it at Dwarka. They were able to use such force because they are certain of the indulgence of the protection of Supreme Lord Krishna. In other words, the Lord is provided with the best things in the universe by His pure devotees. Lord Sri Krishna was provided with all kinds of comforts and facilities available within the universe by the members of the Yadu dynasty, and in return, such servitors of the Lord were protected and fearless. A forgetful, conditioned soul is fearful, but a liberated soul is never fearful. Just as a small child completely dependent on the mercy of the Lord is never fearful to anyone, fearfulness is sort of illusion for the living being when he is in slumber and forgetting the eternal relationship with the Lord. Since the living being is never to die by his constitution as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, then what is the cause of fearlessness? Bhagavad Gita 2.20 is okay. न जायते म्रियते न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भाविता वा न भूया अजो नित्यशाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Which means for the soul there is neither birth, death at any time. He does not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. What is the cause of fearfulness? The person may be fearful of the tiger in dream, but another man who is awake by his side sees no tiger. The tiger is myth for both of them, namely the person dreaming and the person awake, because actually there is no tiger. But the man forgetful of his awakened life is fearful, whereas the man who has not forgotten his position is not at all fearful. Thus the members of the Yadu dynasty were all fully awake in their services to Lord, and therefore There was no tiger for them to be afraid at any time. Even if they were a real tiger, the Lord were there to protect them. Text 39. My brother Arjun, now please tell me whether your health is all right. You appear to have lost your bodily luster. Is this due to others disrespecting and neglecting you because of your long stay at Dwarka? Shivapasva. From all angles of vision, Maharaj inquired from Arjuna about the welfare of Dwarka, but he concluded at last that as long as Lord Shri Krishna himself was there, nothing inauspicious would happen. But at the same time, Arjuna appeared to be bereft of his bodily luster, and thus king inquired of his personal welfare and asked so many vital questions. Text 40. Has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or unthreatened you? Could you not give charity to one who asked, or could you not keep your promise to someone? Shivasva. A rich Kshatriya or rich man sometimes visited by persons who are in need of money. When they ask for donation, it is a duty of the possessor of wealth to give charity in consideration of the person, place and time. If Kshatriya or rich man fails to comply with the obligation, he must be very sorry for his discrepancy. Similarly, one should not fail to keep a promise to give in charity. These discrepancies are sometimes causes of despondency, and thus failing, a person becomes subject to criticism, which might also be the cause of Arjuna's plight. Text 41. You are always protector of the deserving living beings such as Brahmana, children, cows, women and the diseased. Could you not give them protection when they approach you for shelter? Shivvatsvapat. The Brahmanas, who are always engaged in researching knowledge for the society's welfare work, both materially and spiritually, deserve the protection of the king in all respects. Similarly, the children of the state, the cow, the diseased, the woman and the old man specifically require the protection of the state or Kshatriya king. If such living beings do not get protection by the Kshatriya or the royal order or by the state, it is certainly shameful for the Kshatriya of the state. If such things had happened to Arjuna, Maharaj Yudhishthira was anxious to know about these discrepancies. Verse 42. Have you contacted a woman of impeachable character, or have you not properly treated a deserving woman? Or have you been defeated on the way by someone who is inferior or equal to you? Shukvasapir. It appears from this verse that during the time of Pandava, free contact between man and women was allowed in certain conditions only. The higher caste, namely Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, could accept a woman of a Vaishya or a Shudra community. But a man from lower caste could not contact a woman of higher caste. Even a Kshatriya could not contact a woman of Brahmana caste. The wife of a Brahmana is considered one of the 7 mothers, namely one's own mother, the wife of a spiritual master or teacher, the wife of Brahmana, the wife of a king, the cow, the nurse and the earth. Such contact between man and woman was known as Uttama and Adhama. Contact of Brahmana with a Kshatriya woman is Uttama, but the contact of Kshatriya with a Brahmana woman is Adhama and therefore condemned. A woman approaching a man for contact should never be refused, but at the same time the discretion as above mentioned may also be considered. Bhima was approached by Hidimbi from a community lower than the Shudras, and Yayati refused to marry the daughter of Shukracharya because Shukracharya being a Brahmana. Vyasadeva, a Brahmana, was called to beget Pandu and Dhritarashtra. Satyavati belonged to the family of fishermen, but Parashar, a great Brahmana, begot in her Vyasadeva. So there are so many examples of contact with women, but in all cases the contacts were not abominable, nor were the result of such contacts bad. Contact between man and woman is natural, but that is also must be carried out under regulative principles, so that social concentration may not be disturbed or unwanted worthless population be increased for the unrest of the world. It is abominable for a Kshatriya to be defeated by one who is inferior in strength or equal in strength. If one is defeated at all, he should be defeated by some superior power. Arjuna was defeated by Bhishma Dev and the Lord Krishna saved him from the danger. This is not an insult for Arjuna because Bhishma Dev was far superior to Arjuna in all ways, in age, respect and strength. But Karna was equal to Arjuna, and therefore Arjuna was in crisis when fighting with Karna. It was felt by Arjuna and therefore Karna was killed even by crooked means. Such are the arrangements of the Kshatriyas, And Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired from his brother whether anything undesirable happened on the way home from Dwarka. Text 43. Have you not taken care of the old men and boys who deserve to dine with you? Have you left them and taken your meals alone? Have you committed some unpardonable mistake which is considered to be abominable? Krishna, Krishna. Govinda, Gopala. Srila Prabhupada purport. It is the duty of a householder to first feed all the children, the old members of the family, the Brahmanas, the invalids. Besides this, an ideal host is required to call for any unknown hungry man to come and dine before he goes to take his meals. He is required to call for such a hungry man thrice on the road. The neglect of this prescribed duty of householder, especially in the matter of old men and children, is unpardonable. Text 44. Or is it that you are feeling empty for all times because you might have lost your intimate friend, Lord Shri Krishna? O my brother Arjuna, I think of no other reason for your becoming so dejected. Shri Prabhupada purport. All the inquisitiveness of Maharaj Yudhishthira about the world situation was already conjectured by Maharaj Yudhishthira. On the basis of Lord Krishna's disappearance from the vision of the world, and this was now disclosed by him because of the acute dejection of Arjuna, which could not have been possible otherwise. So even though he was doubtful about it, he was neglected to inquire frankly from Arjuna on the basis of Sri Narada's instruction. Thus ends the Bhakti-Vedanta purpose of the first canto 14th chapter, Srimad Bhavatam, entitled The Disappearance of Lord Shri Krishna. Text 15. The Pandavas retired timely. Second. Govinda Adipurusha Tamham Bhajami. Okay. Suta Goswami said, Arjuna, my celebrated friend of Lord Krishna, was grief-stricken because of his strong feeling of separation from Krishna. Over and above all, Maharaj Yudhishthira's speculative inquiry, being too much aggrieved, Arjuna practically became choked up, and therefore it was not possible for him to reply properly to the various speculative inquiries of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Text 2. Due to grief, Arjuna's mouth and lotus-like heart had dried up. Therefore, his body lost all luster. Now, remembering the Supreme Lord, he could hardly utter a word in reply. Text 3. With great difficulty, he checked his tear of grief that smeared his eye. He was very distressed because Lord Shri Krishna was out of sight, and increasingly felt affection for him. Remembering Lord Shri Krishna and his well wishes, magnifications, intimate familial relations, and his chariot diving, Arjuna, overwhelmed and breathing heavily, began to speak. The Supreme Shiva Path's purport. The Supreme Living Being is perfect in all relation with his pure devotee. Shri Arjuna is one of the typical pure devotee of the Lord, reciprocating in the fraternal relationship of the Lord dealing with Arjuna are displays of friendship of the highest professional order. He was not only a well-wisher of Arjuna, but actually a benefactor, and to make it still more perfect, the Lord tied him into a familiar relationship by arranging Srimati Subhadra's marriage with him. And above all, Lord agreed to become a chariot driver of Arjuna in order to protect his friend from warfare risk, and Lord became actually happy when he established the Pandavas to rule over the world. Arjuna remembered all these one after another, and thus He became overwhelmed with such thoughts. Text 5. Arjuna said, O king, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, who treated me exactly like an intimate friend, has left me alone. Thus my astounding power, which astonished even the demigod, is no longer with me. Shiva Papa in Bhagavad Gita 10.41. The Lord says, anyone specifically powerful and opulent in wealth, strength, beauty, knowledge, and all the material desires, considered by a product of insignificant portion of the complete whole of my energy. This is Vibhuti Yoga, but I don't remember the words. 10.41. Yad yad vibhuti satvam Srimad Uttejame va tat tat eva gachatvam Mamatejo masa svabhavam. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from about a spark of my splendor. No one therefore can be independently powerful in any measure. Yeah, I was reading the right words, I was just checking. When the Lord descends to the earth along with his eternal, ever liberated associates, he not only displays the divine energy possessed by himself, but also empowers his associate devotees with the required energy to execute his mission and incarnation. It is also stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.5, the Lord and his eternal associates descend to earth many times, but the Lord remembers all of the different roles of incarnations. 4.5 is Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Bahunai me vyatitani jnanina Bahuni me vyatitani jnamani tavacharjuna tani aham veda sarvani natvam veta parantapa. The personality of God said, many births both you and I passed, I remember them all, but you cannot do subdue of enemies. He not displays the divine energy possessed by himself, but empowers his associates with the required energy to execute the mission of incarnation. It is also stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.5 that the Lord and his eternal associates descend to the earth many times, but the Lord remembers all the different loads of incarnation, whereas associates by the will, supreme will, forget them. Similarly, Lord takes away with him all the associates when he disappears from earth. The power and energy which were bestowed upon Arjuna were required for fulfillment of the mission of the Lord, but when his mission was fulfilled, the emergency powers were withdrawn from Arjuna, because the astounding powers of the Arjuna which were astonishing even to the dungeons of heaven, were no longer required, and they were not meant for going back to order. If endowment of powers and withdrawal of powers by the Lord are possible, even if a great devotee like Arjuna or even demigods in heaven, then what to speak of the ordinary living beings, but who are figs compared to the great souls. The lesson is therefore that no one should be puffed up of his power borrowed from the Lord. The sane man should rather feel obligated to the Lord for such benefactions and must utilize such power for the service of the Lord. Such power can be withdrawn at any time by the Lord. So the best use of such power and opulence is to engage them in the service of the Lord. Text 6. I have just lost him whose separation for a moment would render all the universe unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Just lost him whose separation for a moment would render all universe unfavorable and void, like bodies without life. Shri Prabhupada's purport. Actually, for a living being, there is no one dearer than the Lord. The Lord explains himself as innumerable past and pastless Swamsha or Vibhamsha. Paramatma is the Swamsha part of the Lord, whereas the Vibhamsha parts are the living beings. As the living being is important factor in the material body, for without the living being, the material body has no volume. Similarly, without Paramatma, the living being has no status quo. Similarly, Brahman or Paramatma has no local standing without the Supreme Lord Krishna. This is thoroughly explained in Bhagavad Gita. They are all interlinked with one another or interdependent factors. Thus, in the ultimate issue of Lord, the summum bonum, and therefore the vital principle of everything. 7. Only by his merciful strength I was able to vanquish the lusty princess assembled at the palace of King Drupada for the selection of the bridegroom. With my bow and arrow I could pierce a fish target and thereby gain the hand of Draupadi. Purport. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Draupadi was the most beautiful daughter of King Drupada when she was young girl. Almost all princes desired her hand, but Draupad Maharaj decided to hand over his daughter to Arjuna only, and therefore contrived a peculiar way. There was a fish hanging on the inner roof of a house under the protection of the wheel. The condition was that out of the princely order one must be able to pierce the king's fish's eye through the wheel of protection, and no one would be allowed to look up at target. On the ground there was a water pot in which the target and the wheel were reflected, and one had to fix his aim towards the target by looking at the trembling water in the pot. Maharaj Drupada well knew that only Arjuna or alternatively Karna could successfully carry out the plan, but he still wanted to hand his daughter to Arjuna. And in the assembly of the princely order, when Drishadumna, the brother of Draupadi, introduced the princess to his grown-up sister, and in the assembly of the princely order, Drishadumna, the brother of Draupadi, introduced all princes to his grown-up sister. Karna was also present in the game, but Draupadi tactfully avoided Karna as the rival of Arjuna, and she expressed her desire through her brother Drishadumna that she was unable to accept anyone who was less than a Kshatriya. The Vaishyas and Shudyas are less important than Kshatriyas. Karna was known as the son of a carpenter as Shudra, so Draupadi avoided Karna by this plea. When Arjuna, in the dress of poor Brahmana, pierced the difficult target, everyone was astonished, and all of them, especially Karna, offered a stiff fight to Arjuna. But as usual, by the grace of the Lord, he was able to emerge very successful in the princely fight, and thus gain the valuable hand of Krishna or Draupadi. Arjuna was remembering the incident in the absence of the Lord, by whose strength only he was so powerful. Okay. Let's read this fast. Text 8. Because he was near me, it was possible for me to conquer the great dexterity, the powerful king of heaven, Indradev, along with the demigod associate, and thus enabled the fire god to devastate the Khandava forest. And only by his grace the demon named Maya saved from the blazing Khandava forest, and thus we could build our assembly house of wonderful architectural workmanship, where all the princes assembled during the performance of Rajasuya Yajna and paid due tribute. Srila Prabhupada, but the Maya demon, Maya Danava, was an inhabitant of the forest Khandava, and when the Khandava forest was set on fire, he asked protection from Arjuna. Arjuna saved his life, and result of this the demon felt obligated. He reciprocated by building a wonderful assembly house for the Pandavas, which attracted the extraordinary attention of all state princes. They felt the supernatural power of the Pandavas, and thus without grudge all of them submitted and paid tribute to the emperor. The demons possess wonderful and supernatural power to create material wonders, but they are always disturbing elements of the society. The modern demons are the harmful material scientists who create some material wonders for disturbance of the society. For example, the creation of the nuclear weapon has caused some panic in the human society. Maya was also a materialist like that, and he knew the art of creating such wonderful things, and yet Lord Krishna wanted to kill him. When he was chased both by fire and the wheel of Krishna, he took shelter of such a devotee as Arjuna, who saved him from the wrath of the fire of Lord Shri Krishna. Devotees are therefore more merciful than the Lord, and in devotional service the mercy of the devotee is more valuable than the mercy of Lord. Both the fire and amazing. Both the fire and the Lord ceased from chasing the demon as soon as both of them said that demon was given shelter by such a devotee of Arjuna. This demon, feeling obligated to Arjuna, wanted to do him some service to show his gratefulness, but Arjuna declined to accept anything from him in exchange. Lord Shri Krishna, however, being pleased with Maya for his taking shelter of a devotee, asked him to render service unto Maharaj Yudhishthir by building wonderful assembly house. The process is that by the grace of the devotee, the mercy of the Lord is obtained, and by the mercy of the Lord, the chance to serve a Lord's devotee is obtained. Amazing, beautiful. The club of Bhishma Sen was also gift of Maya Dhanava. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, this one is big. We'll read that tomorrow from 9, 15.9. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hari Sharma. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ji Nitai Gaur Hari.